Moscow, Idaho, a small college town where people are used to trusting each other. Doors are often left unlocked. Students return home late without fear. On November 13, 2022, everything changed. Four University of Idaho students, Madison Mogen, Kaylee Gonzalez, Ethan Chapin, and Zana Kernodle, were fatally stabbed in a house off campus in Idaho. Four dead students were found in the house on King Road. No obvious break-in, no suspect, just an oppressive silence. Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogen, Zana Kernodle, Ethan Chapin. During the fall semester of 2022, four University of Idaho students lived in off-campus rental housing in a rural college town in Idaho. There had been no murders in the town since 2015. The three-story house had 6 bedrooms, 2 on each floor. Built on a hillside, the house had entrances on both the first and second floors. Kaylee Gonzalez and Madison Mogen had their bedrooms on the 3rd floor. On the night of the murders, Mogen and Gonzalez were sleeping in Mogen's room. The 2nd floor contained the house's kitchen and the bedrooms of Zana Kernodle and her surviving roommate, Dylan Mortensen. At the time, Kernodle's boyfriend, Ethan Chapin, was staying at the house in his own room. The 1st floor of the house contained the bedroom of another surviving roommate, Bethany Funky. Madison Mogen and Kaylee Gonzalez grew up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and had been best friends since childhood. Both were 21 years old in their senior year of college, and Kaylee already had a job at an IT company in Texas and was planning to move after graduating early. Mogen majored in marketing, was a member of Pi Beta Phi, and worked at Mad Greek Restaurant in Moscow. 20-year-old Zana Kernodle, who grew up in Arizona and Idaho, also studied marketing, was a member of Pi Beta Phi, and worked with Mogen at the same restaurant. Ethan Chapin, 20, from Mount Vernon, Washington, was a sophomore majoring in recreation, sports, and tourism management, and a member of the Sigma Chi fraternity. All four were young, active students with close friends and big plans for the future. Young, smiling, full of plans. They weren't doing anything dangerous. They were just living, and that's what makes the tragedy even more terrible. Detectives believe that all 4 murders took place between 4 and 4:25 a.m. Kernodle appears to have been awake when the killer entered the house, as she had just placed a food order at around 4 a.m. and was using the TikTok app on her phone at 4:12 a.m. Her surviving roommate, Dylan Mortensen, who was asleep in her bedroom on the 2nd floor, told investigators that she was awakened by noises on the 3rd floor, which she initially thought were Gonzalez and her dog. She stated that she later heard someone say something like, "There's someone here." Mortensen believed it was Gonzalez, although investigators believe it could have been Kernodle. Mortensen peeked out the door but didn't see anything at first, then heard crying coming from Kernodle's room and an unfamiliar male voice saying, "It's okay, I'll help you." Surveillance cameras nearby recorded whimpering, loud banging, and a dog barking at around 4:17 a.m. When she opened the door for the 3rd time, she saw a man in black clothes and a mask who walked past her and out through the sliding glass door. According to her, she froze in shock, locked herself in her room, and did not immediately call 911 because she was drunk and did not want to believe what was happening. A normal Saturday. Walks, food delivery, messages. The night was no different, but somewhere in the darkness, someone was watching. At around 4:26 a.m., Mortensen went downstairs to another neighbor, Bethany Funky, and on the way saw Kernodle lying on the floor of her bedroom, assuming she might be drunk. The 2 women locked themselves in Funky's room and spent several hours trying to contact other neighbors in the building. When there was still no response in the morning, Mortensen called her friends for help. One of them found that Chapin and Kernodle showed no signs of life, after which a 911 call was made at 11:55 a.m., reporting an unconscious person. All 4 victims were pronounced dead at home that same day. Kernodle and Chapin were found in her bedroom on the 2nd floor, Kernodle lying on the floor and Chapin in bed. All 4 had been stabbed to death. The victims had not been gagged or restrained, and none of them had been sexually assaulted. Gonzalez had more than 20 stab wounds in addition to injuries consistent with asphyxiation and blunt force trauma. Kernodle had over 50 stab wounds, many of which were sustained in self-defense. During a search of the apartment, officers found Gonzalez's dog, with whom she lived with her ex-boyfriend, unharmed on the third floor. At first, it was an unconscious person, but the reality turned out to be much more terrifying. 4 lives, multiple stab wounds, and no answers. Classes were canceled. Parents drove hours to retrieve their children. Students who once walked freely now avoided going out alone. Rumors spread faster than facts. Was it targeted? Was it random? Was someone still in town? Police reassured the public, but details were scarce. Silence can feel like danger. Investigators focused their attention on a white Hyundai Elantra. It had been seen near the house that night, a small detail that became the key. After receiving hundreds of reports from the public, on December 15th, the police announced they were searching for records of approximately 22,000 fifth-generation Hyundai Elantras manufactured between 2011 and 2013. A camera installed in the area captured a white or light-colored Elantra around the time of the murders, which investigators noticed repeatedly driving the same route near the house. Another surveillance recording obtained by investigators also showed the Elantra passing the victim's house 3 times, starting at approximately 3:29 a.m. At 4:04 a.m., the Elantra returned for a 4th time. At 4:20 a.m., the car was seen speeding away from the area where the victims lived. FBI investigators decided to use the ancestry websites GDMatch and MyHeritage, which the Bureau acknowledges contained DNA samples from people who had not consented to being searched by law enforcement. This was done in violation of the Justice Department's policy that investigators only use DNA samples from databases that clearly inform their users and the public that law enforcement may use their service sites. The FBI found a match with 250 shared DNA markers, which is a much closer relative. A few days later, investigators began to monitor Kohberger's parents' home. Before the arrest, investigators followed Kohberger near his parents' home in Pennsylvania, in Monroe County. He was seen several times wearing surgical gloves as he placed trash bags in a neighbor's trash can. These items were sent to a laboratory in Idaho to be examined. Authorities also reported that Kohberger cleaned his car inside and out, leaving no inch of space untouched. According to authorities, a knife, a gun, and a black face mask were found during a search of the house where Kohberger was arrested, as well as an ID card in a glove in a box. On December 30th, 2022, Kohberger was taken into custody by the Pennsylvania State Police Special Emergency Response Team and FBI at his parents' home. Law enforcement officers found Kohberger in the kitchen, dressed in a shirt and shorts, wearing examination gloves, and putting trash into separate zippered bags. A doctoral student in criminology, a man who studied crime. Presumably, he committed it. This raised even more questions. Kohberger first appeared in the Leda County Courthouse on January 5th, where he was charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of burglary for entering a home with the intent to commit a felony. A week later, on January 12th, Kohberger appeared a second time at a status conference in the same courtroom. On May 17, 2023, the Leda County District Attorney's Office announced that a grand jury had indicted Kohberger on 5 counts, 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of felony burglary. A preliminary hearing for probable cause, scheduled for June 26th, was canceled after the indictment was filed. In May 2023, Kohberger declined to enter a plea during arraignment. His attorney stated that Kohberger was silent on the charges. The judge entered a not guilty plea on his behalf. On June 26, 2023, the Leda County District Attorney's Office announced that it would seek the death penalty, given the aggravating circumstances of the first-degree murder. Kohberger was denied bail. In January 2024, the judge granted the defense confidential access to the results of investigative genetic genealogy testing that used a touch sample from the knife sheaths left at the crime scene that first led to the investigation of Kohberger. On September 9, 2024, the judge granted the defense's motion to change venue. The trial was to take place in Boise, presided over by Judge Stephen Hibbler. Kohberger was flown south to Boise on September 15th and held in Ada County Jail. Judge Hibbler tentatively set the date for jury selection to begin on August 4, 2025. with the jury trial set to begin on August 18, 2025. A June 30, 2025 statement said Kohberger agreed to plead guilty to all charges, accepting a sentence of 4 consecutive life sentences, avoiding the death penalty. Pending the judge's approval, Kohberger also waived his right to any future appeals, ensuring that he will remain in prison until his death. On July 2, 2025, he pled guilty to 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of felony burglary. On July 23, 2025, he was sentenced to 4 consecutive life sentences without parole, as well as an additional 10 years for burglary. The most disturbing element isn't just violence, it's intent. What leads someone to allegedly enter a home at night, silently, methodically, and attack strangers? Isolation, rejection, fantasy escalation, or something colder?